there, league. It is I, your commissioner, and 3-time undisputed fantasy football champion, Chase Callahan, coming to you live from Commissioners HQ, our office. Was out on vacation last week and actually just got over a little illness. Had a fever yesterday. Finally broke last night. Thanks for asking. And but I'm committed to this league. Nothing if not fair and balanced and objective as a commissioner. So I know you all are very excited to see the power rankings this week, week 4 power rankings. So let's get right into them. All right, in the number 1 spot, we've got ZP3, the only undefeated team left. Continuing his dominant start to this season. I mean, Christian McCaffrey with a monster game, 41.7 points. Josh Jacobs contributing in a big way this week, and A.J. Brown with a monster game. It was due. It was due for him. And, I mean, he's got multiple players that can really go off any week for big points. Darren Waller has sucked this year, which I guess is not a shocker because he's sucked basically every year. It's been a lot of hype. Javonte Williams, unfortunately, leaving with an injury, but really not even needed down here because his core players are playing so well that when you get to like the flex and stuff like that, he doesn't even need the help. Which brings me to my next point with ZP's team. Probably the biggest contributing factor is injury bug has not hit him yet. His main core players have not been injured at all, so knock on wood that continues because there is maybe some depth issues, but who's not kind of hitting those right now? Because everybody's going down except for ZP's people. And so he's got a really tough matchup this week against Tyler, who might be looking to end another undefeated streak. It's going to be definitely an interesting matchup, but ZP definitely worthy of the number 1 spot this week. All right, coming in at the number 2 spot, we've got Tyler A, who ended Champ's win streak this week. Defeated Champ. Champ is no longer undefeated. He also just barely edges Champ out for top scorer in the league so far. So definitely deserving of the number 2 spot. David Montgomery with a monster game. He's looked excellent so far this year, which is a real warning sign to Gibbs owners. Cough, cough, Bert. Stephon Diggs, 30 points. I mean, that's freaking beautiful. Another monster game from him. Ayuk looks like the wide receiver 1 in San Francisco when he's healthy. I think the concern for Tyler is Raheem possibly losing touches to Devon Achane, if that's how you say his last name, because he's looked really good. And also if Deshaun misses some time, what does that do to the Browns' run game? Because everybody will obviously key in on the run game because the backup can't throw worth a crap. Saints' offense looked really bad, especially with Derek Carr injured. So hopefully Derek Carr comes back so Chris Olave could score his normal amount, but Tyler didn't really need a lot of help this week with his core scoring big for him. So I definitely think he's worthy of the 2 spot. He also has Mark Andrews, who he didn't even play this week. Mark Andrews the past couple of weeks has looked like a tight end 1, tight end 2 style Mark Andrews. So Tyler's team's looking strong and looking forward to seeing what happens with him this week as he plays against ZP. Can he take down another undefeated team? Very excited to see that this week. At the 3 spot, we have the aforementioned Victoria's Secret Champ getting his first loss of the season against Tyler. And this was kind of a down week for Champ's team across the board, but he still managed to put up 96 points. So that just kind of speaks to how strong his team is. Justin Jefferson finally getting the end zone a couple of times. Every week he can be putting up these numbers. TJ Hawkinson had a tough game, but that's kind of how TJ Hawkinson will probably be, ups and downs. But you can't ask for more out of your tight end spot if he's going to score 10 points one game and 2 points the other. Most people who don't have a top tier tight end will take that for sure. I would like my tight ends to score more than 6 points personally. Amari Cooper, this is a worry spot for Champ. If Deshaun misses more time, the Browns need Deshaun and Amari Cooper needs Deshaun. His running backs didn't have a great week. Travis Etienne, the Jaguars' offense has looked rough, but Travis Etienne is getting a lot of touches, so I'm expecting that to go up as the weeks go on. And Kenneth Walker didn't have a bad game. Tutu, not a great game, and I'm worried about his share of targets as Cooper Kupp comes back. But overall, what are you going to say? Champ's 3-1. He still has a solid team that's not super injured. And so I think he's well deserving of the 3 spot. He's also less than a point away from being the top scorer in the league. So if that tells you anything about the way his team has been performing, he's still very much in the driver's seat in the right cheek. All right, a bit of a shocker. We've got the Hilton Head Whalers in the 4 spot. I'm very excited about this because he's been in the bottom of the power rankings for most of the year so far, and we're still early on in the year, but I just don't think I've ever seen a team get turned around this quickly by using the waiver wire. And Tim has used it perfectly. He's picked up the exact people he's needed, and they've consistently so far been producing for him. It's absolutely stunning. Puka looks like a wide receiver 1 in the league. Or like a top 5 wide receiver. Devon Achane the past 2 weeks has been like a top 5 running back. Kyren Williams looks like the RB1 for the whole year, basically, so far with his production. It's just, like I said, I've never seen it so quickly get turned around. We'll see if they can consistently produce. But as we mentioned earlier this year, Tim's big question mark is, can he get some wins before Cooper Kupp may come back week 5? And I think Tim has blown away those expectations by going 2-2. Cooper Kupp comes back, maybe Puka loses some touches, but it's Cooper Kupp. And so, I mean, you're going to have 2 powerhouses at wide receiver. And Tim has inserted himself back into the conversation. So I just want to say congratulations, Tim. I hope you continue to find success. I wouldn't want to play your team right now because it's looking strong, buddy. Lamar Jackson putting up 28 points. Love to see that as well. So good luck, Tim. Well deserving of that 4 spot this week. All right, coming in at the 5 spot this week, we've got the boss, myself, winning a big matchup against Bert. Going 2-2 feels much better than going 1-3 in this league. And I think the sucky thing is I'd be 3-1 if I would not have made the managerial blunder of not playing Brian Robinson against Champ, because I would have won that. But that's kind of how fantasy football goes sometimes, right? Josh Allen, got that dog in him, man. I wish he could play Miami every week. That was awesome to see his connection with Stephon Diggs, putting up big numbers. James Cook, been putting 10 to 15 points up every week. Love to see that. Aaron Jones, his usage will go up as he gets healthier. This was his first game back from injury. They got blown out by Detroit to start the game, so didn't really need him. Calvin Ridley, I'm going to lump Calvin Ridley, George Pickens, and Tank Dell together. Some real question marks at the receiver core for my team right now that I need to address and I need to figure out, because I've got some receivers that are not doing well. I think Calvin Ridley has a ton of upside if the Jaguars' offense can get rolling, but I'm not sure about the upside with George Pickens right now with Kenny Pickett out. CeeDee Lamb's going to get more points as the Cowboys actually have to play tough opponents. So far, they've only needed him for a quarter, and he'll put up 10 points in a quarter, and then they'll say, hey, we don't need you anymore. Sucks for fantasy football, great for the Cowboys. Speaking of the Cowboys, how about that thirsty Dallas D? 27 points. Whoo-wee! I love my defense. But yeah, I think question marks for this team right now, definitely at wide receiver. Austin Eckler's got a bye this week, and then we'll be back. And running back core is going to be very strong. Just need some help at receiver, but I do think worthy of the 5 spot, especially once Austin Eckler comes back healthy. All right, coming in at 6, we've got Mucho Mondos, Brandon, who won a big matchup against Mike this week. I'm going to go 2-2. And what a game by Isaiah Pacheco. He looked unreal. I love that for him. Hopefully they keep relying on him. I do worry about Kansas City because they are a pass-heavy offense, and their offense has not looked very good so far this year. But maybe they'll rely on Isaiah Pacheco. That would really help Brandon out because where my team is lacking wide receivers, Brandon's team is lacking on the running back side of things. Dameon Pierce has been just okay, and Joe Mixon has not been good. And Dameon Pierce might be nicked up, so hopefully he doesn't miss any time. But I think Brandon's got some options here because his wide receiver core is elite. Elite. Tyreek Hill, elite. Devontae Smith, elite. And they did not have good games. 7.2 and 7.8 is not good games for these two, which is saying a lot about them. Adam Thielen put up 8.2. Sneakily been consistent so far this year. But man, if I'm Brandon, I'm taking Isaiah Pacheco up to one of those running back spots. And then I'm coming down here to old Nico Collins, who's absolutely balling out for Texas right now for the Houston Texans. And I'm putting him in that flex spot, baby, and riding that guy. You got to ride the hot guy. You know what I'm saying? But I think Brandon's team is in a great spot. He probably could have been 4th or 5th. I just think his running backs are a little lacking. But definitely in a good spot and is definitely still in the conversation. So, way to go, Brandon. All right, at the 7 spot this week, we've got the gentleman, Michael, who lost a tough matchup to Brandon. Off game for Michael. His team really didn't show up to play, and this is what I'll say. I'm not sure if it was the added attention from Taylor Swift or if it was the vaccine that Mr. Pfizer got causing him myocarditis. But something is slowing down Travis Kelce. He hasn't looked like his dominant self yet this year. So maybe he needs to go see a doctor about his enlarged heart, or tell Taylor to stop coming to the games. But he hasn't looked super good yet this year. And hopefully that changes because Michael really needs him. You need your best players to ball out. And Kelce and Pollard didn't really ball out this week. Not worried about Pollard. New England's still a tough run defense. He's in the top 5 for carries. And so he's going to have better than 6-point games. He's already had this season. He's looked great this season. Not worried about him. I am worried about Debo and T. Higgins. Both are nicked up at this point. Hopefully they don't miss time. Michael Pittman got shut down by the Rams. And so there's just not a lot of places to turn for Michael. I think Breece Hall is a better running back than what he's been showing so far. And Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, has said that they're going to give him more touches. So maybe there's some upside there. It's just tough when your players don't show up to play. I was there last week. That's why Mike's in the 7 spot. Definitely not at a bad position yet, but you definitely hope for more of your star players. So hopefully Kelce will start showing up for you, along with Pollard. And Kirk also kind of had a bad game. So that's why he's in the 7 spot. All right, in the 8th spot, we've got the proud owner and operator of Brennan's Buttholes, the OG Biz himself, Brennan, who's been hit, unfortunately, by the injury bug. Losing Saquon for a couple of weeks, it's not fun. I feel for him there, but Saquon was practicing this week, so hopefully things have turned around for him, because then Mike Evans had to leave the game this week with a tweaked hammy. So hopefully he doesn't miss time considering the tear he's been on to start this season, because Brennan really needs both of those players right now to kind of dig himself out of this hole that he's in at 1-3. Amon-Ra is a little banged up. And the great thing about Amon-Ra is he'll score you consistently 10 to 15 points a week. But the downside of Amon-Ra is usually he'll only score you 10 to 15 points. And so where you're hoping for that crazy upside with the wide receiver 1 type of player, you don't really get that as much. Mike Evans has more been a number 1 for Brennan than Amon-Ra has. But it's a great 1-2 punch when they're healthy. It's a fantastic one. I'm excited to see what Christian Watson does the rest of the season, considering this was his first week back healthy. And Ramondre hopefully starts clicking. New England's offense has looked so bad, unfortunately. Now, I think once Saquon is healthy, Brennan plugs in Saquon for Chuba Hubbard, and then maybe he puts in Drake London for Jordan Addison, or he kind of mixes and matches, and I think he can win some games, get right back into things. If I'm Brennan, I'm looking for another running back right now, because outside of Saquon, his running backs have been hot garbage. And so if I'm Brennan, I'm looking for another running back. But in a weird way, it's kind of nice for Brennan that he's getting through all of this the first few weeks of the season, because you don't want to be scoring 100-plus points and losing. That sucks. You want to be having really bad games when you lose. You don't want to lose 150 to 155, right? If you're going to lose, you might as well have your players suck so that they can save their best performances for later. And so in a kind of weird way, it's kind of nice for Brennan. He just needs to start winning. And hopefully he does. But that's why he's in the 8th spot this week. Speaking of having a good game and still losing, he slid, a.k.a. Brett, having a pretty good point week, but still not getting the dub. You hate to see it. He changed his name to He Slid, previously Death by Bye Week, in honor of Patty Mahomes, his own QB, sliding at the 1-yard line instead of taking the football into the end zone. I mean, here's the deal. That's potentially giving Brett the win. You come down here, that'd be a 6-point swing for Brett. That'd put him at 122.7. I mean, that would have been it. But his own QB goes down at the 1-yard line. Whew. Tough stuff. That's how fantasy football goes. What's even wilder than that slide was the ruled touchdown catch by DJ Moore this week. Can we go ahead and take a look at that BS? No. This is the blown holding call that gave Patrick Mahomes a 25-yard rush for free. This isn't what I'm talking about. This isn't it either. This is the freaking phantom hold on Sauce Gardner that gave the Chiefs another 3rd and 20 plus for free. Ah, yes, here it is. That's 1 foot. He does not have 2 feet down. It's so obvious. How did they call this a touchdown? So in a weird way, it's kind of poetic justice that it ended like that, because DJ Moore's touchdown was not a touchdown. And so I'm very glad that Patrick Mahomes went down at the 1. But moving on. Jahmyr Gibbs' usage has unfortunately looked a lot like DeAndre Swift's usage last year with the Detroit Lions. Gibbs is obviously like the more talented back, but Montgomery's just been around longer, knows how to read and knows how to hit those holes. And so they're going to keep running him until he goes into the dirt. Just not good for Burt. Derrick Henry had a monster game. DJ Moore had a good numbers game. You hate to see those get wasted, which is what I mean by when you lose, you want to lose. You don't want to put up 116 and still lose. That kind of sucks. Garrett Wilson, not a great game. Was open a lot. Zach Wilson couldn't give him the ball. And so, tough week for Burt. If he wins next week, he's right back in the thick of things. 1-3 is not something you can't climb out of. You win the next game, you're 2-3, and you're right back in the conversation. Just a tough week for Burt. But hopefully things get better moving on. Coming in at our 10 spot, we've got Brett creeping in, a.k.a. Luke, with one of the most interesting storylines so far this year. He has not gotten a victory yet, but scoring really hasn't been his issue. His issue has been getting scored on. I mean, it's been unbelievable to watch. Some numbers for you. Zach, who is undefeated this year, has a total scored against of 333.42 points. 333.42. Luke, on the other hand, has had 535.84 points scored against him. We've only played 4 games. That's 200, basically 200 points that Luke is facing in 4 weeks, 50 points a week roughly, that Zach has not played against. That is bananas, especially only for it being 4 weeks. Another crazy stat. Luke has scored over 100 points 3 out of the 4 weeks so far, and the 1 week he didn't score 100 points, he put up 92. How is this guy 0-4? Wild. That's fantasy football for you. He's really just one Jamar Chase away from winning every game. But Jamar Chase is kind of still MIA with the rest of the Bengals. Jalen Waddle, not looked good this year. All the targets are going to Tyreek. DeAndre Swift, on the other hand, looks great. Hopefully Philly keeps running him. Hopefully he doesn't get injured because he is injury prone. James Conner puts up maybe his worst week against San Fran. That makes sense. But Luke should start winning some games. I can't believe the numbers, and I can't believe he's 0-4. Something's got to give for Luke. I feel for him. Kind of just sucks for him right now. He's putting up too many points to not win. Hopefully that turns around, and hopefully he won't be in the 10 spot for long, except maybe for next week. We shall see. USDA certified lean. All right, and then finally we've got the USDA Certified Lean America's Game of the Week. Big division rivalry between the boss and the gentleman. Both are 2-2, so a lot at stake right now over in the right cheek, but a lot of great matchups this week. I'm really eyeing Tyler and Zach, and Zach putting his undefeated streak on the line. So, like I mentioned, a lot of great matchups. Really looking forward to this week. Make sure you say thank you to the sponsors below, and this has been your commissioner and 1, 2, 3-time undisputed champion, saying good luck this week. Thank you.